let's see. Yep, I got that right. Okay. So, to get started, I'll spend a little time. My name is Brad Reeves. I'm the DevOps manager. I'm based in the U.S. in Colorado.
Okay.
So, and I manage a team. We have a few people in the U.S. We have a few people in the U.K. One person in Norway, and then the team in Chennai. And so we're diverse and spread out, but it's one of the things we'll talk about is, working across our regions. I have been with Flatirons now for about a year, a little over a year actually, and been working in the DevOps space prior to that for about the last 30 years on and off. So all the way back to when it was just systems administration. Before I came to Flatirons, I was the head of a site reliability engineering group for Splunk. So I've been through it all. So seen a lot of it.
Yeah, let me introduce myself as well. Hi, this is
please.
Yeah, this is Venkat, and people call me as Venkat Ramesh. And I had total of 15 years plus into the IT, as well as 6 years into the DevOps, as well as the cloud infra, and into AWS as well as Azure DevOps as well. And I am specialized into the multi-cloud environment by using multi-cloud environment, just like in this by using resources from the multi-tier or the multi-cloud environment. And I am expertise into the Kubernetes as well as the Terraform plannings as well as the Terraform integrations. And as part of the DevOps, I have been much proficient in the Jenkins tool as well as the AWS code pipeline and Azure DevOps as well. And coming to other tools, just like in the sense, I am a bit proficient into the GitHub Actions as well as the Jenkins and the code pipe, Selenium integration, blah blah blah. Based on the integrations we used to do. And apart from before that 6 years, I have been into the Linux admin, and before that I have been into a desktop admin kind of role.
All right.
Yeah. Hi, Venkatesh.
Hello. Hey, Venkat.
Yeah. Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, going good. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Good. So let me just introduce myself.
Yeah.
My name is Venkatesh Babu, and I'm working as a engineering manager in Flatirons. So mainly I'm taking care of the. We have a couple of products here, so I'm just taking care of the product delivery.
Okay. Yeah, Brad.
Sorry, somebody just came to my door and my dogs are barking, so I'm going to mute myself for a second. Just one. Sorry about that.
No,
all right. We can get started. What I'll do is we'll go through and we'll talk about some technologies. We'll talk about your approach to different things in the cloud.
Yes.
And we'll just get to know each other, and it should be just an easy conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a hound dog, and he likes to howl sometimes. So let me go take care of this real quick because it's going to be a pain. So give me 1 minute.
Yeah, sure, no issues.
All the good things of working from home, except for those things.
It's ready.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've got your resume here in front of me, and you do have a lot of experience. I'm going to hit just a few things here and there, and we'll start fairly high level. So you have lots of Linux experience
Yes.
on your resume, and
Yeah.
so now I'm going to ask you a question that's going to seem really
Yeah, LS-LTR.
Yep, exactly. And it seems like a silly question, except
Yes.
when you type in ls whatever minus LART or whatever you want,
Yeah.
it comes back and says bin ls not found. Somebody has removed the ls command from that system. So now I want you to think, how would you
Mm, without ls in the sense, I can go with find or printf, then the dollar command, and dars in some cases it may work, vdar as well.
exactly?
Yeah.
And so the reason I asked this question,
Yes.
and there people answer it lots of ways. You could use echo star, you can use find,
Yeah,
you can
echo
use
star also
printf,
will
you
work.
can you can do lots of things.
Yes.
In DevOps, we have it's just so I understand how you solved that problem, and you
Yes.
solved it exactly right. So that's why I'm with Linux. Tell me about
See, generally for high availability, I go with generally with the auto scaling kind of thing, using the load balancers to distribute the traffic load across multiple instances or servers, and then the auto scaling, just like auto scaling to automatically scale up and down based on the demand, and multi-region deployment, just like availability zones configuration, and database application for managed database services, just like Azure RDS or some. And if some cache is required, I will go with Redis or Elastic Cache, and content delivery network, and basically infrastructure as a code for any repeatable or automated consistent infrastructures, and monitoring alerts. That's it. And DR has to be configured to just like to we need to develop a DR plan with strategies like backup and restore, pilot, light, some cloud native applications as well, just like AWS backup or Azure backup, and stateless architecture as well. This can defaultly fail out the clusters and all those things.
perfect. That's excellent. In fact, so in that environment that you just designed, you got a product that's laid out that way, and you said health of that application.
See, generally for the monitoring kind of thing, for any application we need application level metrics, just like the latency, the response time, how long the request takes to complete, the how latency could indicate performance bottlenecks, error rates, just like 500 errors, percentage of the failed requests, which indicates the application of server issues, and request rate through output, number of requests per seconds, which helps in scaling decisions, just like to identify the traffic spikes, and user behavior metrics as well, number of active users, user sessions, etc., which provides the insights into load and user activities, and infrastructure metrics, just like in the sense I can go with CPU utilization, the memory usage, disk IO and disk space, and network bandwidth and others. If it is some database metrics, if the application is dependent on any database application, just like query performance, one second, yeah, query performance, just like slow query times, that can bottleneck the application, connections, how many active connections to the database are established, and how it can be overwhelmed, and read write through output application logs. If it is load balancer, generally we will go with the request counts and healthy and unhealthy targets.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so now you have that application. Has all these things. Where would you look to find cost optimizations in that sort of layout?
So for cost optimizing, just like resizing the instances, just like review the CPU and memory usage, and to ensure that over provisioning, where we are over provisioning, just using AWS Compute Optimizer or in Azure Advisor to recommend the optimal instances type, and using some spot instances as well for wherever the batch jobs or background processing jobs are required, and auto scaling policy, we can fine tune the auto scaling thresholds to scale up when necessary only, or else, and when scroll down aggressively during low demand. And for the database cost optimization, just like using serverless or and on-demand databases, where just like Amazon or Aurora serverless, and instance size and storage optimization as well, we can do it, and optimize the query performance, and delete the unused resources, removing the unused backups or snapshots, which can give some storage backup as well, right? And coming to storage cost optimization, tied storage, just like move frequently the access data to lower storage types like S3 Glaciers or Azure Blob Archive, and enable the life cycle policies as well by automatically moving the old or unused data to cheaper, just like in the sense storage ties, or deleting altogether, and compressing and deduplicate the data. That can be help us. Coming to networking cost, just like reduce the data transfer cost, minimize the cross region, or whatever, if at all any AZ regions are configured, just by deploying the resources in the same region, there we can get the network costs as well to get this, though by this way we can avoid.
Excellent. In fact, you're doing a great job. You're leading into every one of my next questions, because I was like,
Yeah,
well,
it's my job,
talk
yeah.
to me about what are the considerations when you're that you talked right into that. Now, let's talk about, you have a lot of things about that's in it.
See, generally for deployment, just like to efficiently deploy an application, roll out fixes, or refresh data using the CI/CD pipelines, we generally go with the Jenkins here, an optimal approach. See, in this CI/CD pipeline, we can break down the deployment process into just like continuous integration, where the code repository and the version control using the GitHub repositories or Bitbucket to store and manage the code and automate the testing. Just run the unit tests, integration testings, and static code analysis during every code commit, and artifact management, just like package the application into build artifacts, example jar files or some things, and store these artifacts in like Nexus repository or any JFrog artifactory or ECR, which is an Azure based of, and AZ container registry as well. And for the continuous deployment, just staging environments, we need to deploy artifacts to a staging environment for validation and user acceptance, just before going to the production deployment acceptance, and then promote the verified builds to production based on approvals to using automated pipelines as ensuring minimal downtime. For this, actually, in the Jenkins pipeline itself, we can use some declarative or scripted pipelines, and we can build this.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm looking.
Because I have came out from the Linux background, right? So
Yeah, and that's perfectly okay. Just
yeah.
in our applications that we're deploying are Java applications,
Yeah,
and
no
so
worries. I can integrate those.
the only thing that I really care about from our side is are we monitoring and looking at them and evaluating the JVM properties properly?
Okay.
Those kind of things. Not necessarily can you write Java code. That's not our skill set that we're going for right here. I do like you have some Python, and we definitely do some Python. We'll do some Lambda functions potentially in Python. I personally like Go language, but that's from my background.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's all fine. Let me go back over to your resume here. There's something I highlighted that I wanted to come back to. So, automating infrastructure provisioning. Feel about it, and what your experience levels are with it.
Sure.
I think you mentioned it early, but
It's great
I want to
that
go
you
over.
I think you are into IAC as well. It's a crucial practice for scalable, repeatable, and reliable cloud environments. Here we can, just like in the sense, using Pulumi, just like an IAC tool that requires general purpose programming languages, example Python or TypeScript or Go, instead of declarative configurations like Terraform. We can use it into multi-cloud capabilities as well, managed AWS, Azure, and GCP resources in a unified way, using TypeScript for defining infrastructure, making it easy to integrate, just like logics, loops, and conditional into the IAC. And then the challenges are just like it requires developers to know both the cloud provider and the programming language deeply. Using the Terraform, it's a declarative state based of IAC infrastructure as a code tool, widely adopted for managing infrastructure in a consistent and repeatable way, just like for building the infrastructure for AWS, an EC2 or an S3 or an RDS, using some Terraform modules, designed reusable modules to standardize the deployment across teams. Actually, it uses the remote backends, just like SE with DynamoDB logs or Azure Blob Storage for storing the Terraform states securely, and using the modules and reusability. We can develop the modular based code based for shared infrastructures, just like VPC or IAM roles, those things. And for complex environment, just like managing the multiple account setups with the shared services in the AWS also, that we can do. And TerraGrant is a just like
Yeah.
it's a wrap around Terraform that simplifies managing what we call Terraform configurations for large scale and multi-environment setups, just like standardizing the configuration using TerraGrant to centralize variables and avoid duplication across multiple environments. Just TerraGrant.hcl to manage multiple environment specific overrides and remote state configurations, automated dependency management in using some defined dependencies between the modules, ensuring the network infrastructure was provisioned before application. These things we can do. And just like do not repeat yourself, DRY, we can build this. By this we can do that. And as I said, multiple environment set, just like creating the staging environment with the same environment, we can go ahead with the QA and production. Terragrant will help us mostly.
Okay, excellent. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Can you tell me
See, I used to part of the just like for as a part of solution architect, I used to work with the engineering team as well as the DevOps team. See, in my professional experience, there have been just application performance and the scalable requirements. A backend engineering team needed an improvement deployment strategy to handle the increasing traffic, just like without any downtime, and wanted to dynamically scaling for the peak load. What I had approached is that I had gathered the requirement, held workshops with engineers to understand traffic patterns, peak usages, and what the bottlenecks are there, and collected the metrics related to the response time, database performance, and application output. And this solution, how I had designed and implemented a blue-green deployment pipelines using Jenkins and Terraform, allowing seamless deployments without impacting with the live traffic. You see, used auto scaling groups in the AWS to dynamically add or remove the instances based on CPU and memory utilization. Deployed a Redis based of caching layer to reduce the load on the database, so it can bypass the load directly from the database. And we had documented and shared a new workflows with the engineering for easy adoption. With this, actually, we had reduced the deployment downtime to near zero and improved the application performance during the peak hours by 40% through caching and scaling.
perfect, wonderful. Let's say you have that that application without having the peaks just always take it over.
See, for any observability, actually, we need to have a peak usage pattern, just like analyze and understand the patterns, historical data using some monitoring tools or just like CloudWatch or Prometheus or anything to gather the historical data on the traffic usage, resource usages, and performance metrics during the peak off and off peak times, and identify the key metrics, just like what are the request rates, HTTP requests per second, and latency, how average response time is going on, and resource utilization, just like CPU and the memory, IOPS, and error rates, 500 errors. This we can, and set the dynamic thresholds, just like the baseline metrics, establish a baselines for analyzing any historic data during the peak and off For example, if average CPU usage is 20% off peak and 80% at peak, set the threshold dynamically based on time of the day that we can keep it. So time based of alerting, we can configure the different thresholds for peak or peak and off peak periods. Just in the midday, there may be triggers alerts of less than 90% as well of the response time. Those we need to detect those. We need to analyze that, and we need to configure that. And anomaly detection using tools like Datadog anomaly detection or Prometheus absent as well functions on the CloudWatch onsets also to flag the deviations from the baseline where we are lagging off or where we are hanging up. Those things we can define, and we can define the what we call SLAs as well and SLOs to minimize the noise, and by this way we can do that. If I am missing something, let me know.
You're not missing a thing.
Yeah.
You did very well.
Yeah.
You covered a lot of ground and a lot of bases. You know, set a single threshold on some value. You will say, oh, if this CPU reaches 80%.
Yes.
But what I'm really interested in is the disk growth over time. You know, if I know the acceleration of the disk growth and it's growing slowly, I can calculate when I'm going to run off. But if it rapidly is growing in the acceleration, that's something that I need to know about right away. So sometimes I look down that path. However, you took an excellent approach of saying, you know, if we understand spiky traffic,
Yes.
then we can calculate based on the time of day.
Yes.
Because of distance and normal. So you're saying let's establish baselines for these times of periods
Yeah.
of time, and say if it falls within a
Actually,
P95
I used
range.
to keep a separate guy only for the monitoring kind of thing, and as part of the service desk operations, I used to keep them generally for this monitoring kind of thing, and I used to ask them for the analyze to get some inputs. See, I can go with the history as well, but in the real time also, I used to ask them to monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. I loved it.
Yeah.
So
See, generally, the timelines first thing. Because you people work in the night shift of my time, and then the communication barriers, just like miscommunication due to culture or language differences and lack of face-to-face interactions may cause misunderstanding. Just like generally, see, for the communication, I generally go with Slack or some Teams for the general communication. So whatever this ascent or some communication may gap also can be covered using the typo. This and document the key decisions in any shared platform like Confluence or Wiki, some kind of thing. And overlapping hours, we need to identify the overlapping working hours for the critical meetings or collaborations, and rotate the meeting times to ensure no single team always bears the burden. And apart from this, we need to standardize the communication practices, just like setting agendas for meetings, summarize the key points, and all the teams should know whichever shift they come. And that's it, I guess.
Yeah, and you did very good. You summed up. I mean, all companies that operate this way have the problems that you suggested.
Actually, I have been part of Synchrony Financials earlier while working with the DXC. So I had supported the US client there. So at that time, I used to face the same challenges, and we used to have a channel of in the teams, and in the channel itself, we used to have the updates what the shift had handed over, or else during the shift handover also we used to have some notes kind of thing, a summary, what the major incidents or the major things which are involved in this shift, so that the next person will be alerted, and as well as what are the pending tickets or the pending actions to be taken also will be recorded, and what are the planned activities also will be populated in the shift roster, so that everyone will be alerted in the next shift who is coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And excellent ideas. And we generally do pretty good at all the things. I believe that communication is the absolute key.
Yeah.
You know, we probably can't over communicate in this regard because, but you know, making sure that we're writing it down, or it's we're currently making a change. We use Teams, and we were overusing the chat function of Teams rather than using Teams channels. And what we're trying to do now is switch back over to Teams channels, so we have some kind of siloed communications and channels within that.
Yes.
And then we also want to implement an AI system so that it's easy to search through those teams and find data as well.
Yes.
So and we can always get better. You know, that's the other thing. And our on-call schedules right now, we don't do a lot of handoff work necessarily, but we can review what has happened. We do have all the systems, and I can see, you know, okay, this is what happened in that shift, and we can go back and forth, and we do a pretty good job of communicating between within the team. So, but we can always get better, and I'm always looking for, you know, better ways that we can manage that, and looking for assistance in that kind of leadership tier that we're interviewing, the architect and leadership tier of how we set up process so that we're efficient and we're good. So
Coming to the leadership in the sense, I can say it as actually I am handling a team here at around 15 plus members, which are into just like dev team as well as the testing team, those are involved, and as well as the service desk team as well. And out of the 15 as well, they are not directly reported actually for me, and there are some indirect reports as well, and their reports also will report to me likewise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me make so let's start with that. Venkatesh, do you have any questions you want to ask before we go into the next section?
No, I don't have any specific question, Brad. Maybe you can go ahead.
Thanks, Anil.
Okay. All right, thank you. So about flat irons or about the job or anything?
See, generally, I generally ask for the what the organization architecture or something, what the technology stack will you build there. Could you please provide me the details of current platform, or else the current what are the TSA, or the infrastructure management, those things. It's
Okay.
a small brief, that's it, not much.
Okay. Well, I'll cover. I think I can cover most of it here. So our customers are in AWS
Okay.
entirely. That's the only cloud we work with right now, and so we have our major applications are running in AWS. We do have a customer or two that are running inside a traditional data center inside of vSphere, but we only have certain members of our team that actually can interact with that. So one of those is in the UK, and only UK people can get into that data center. We have one in the US, and only US people can sort of get into that data center and work on it. And so there's not a whole lot of overlap. So I tell you that just because it exists. We are also thinking about and talking to those customers about transitioning to the cloud. It's one of the things that we really want to happen over the next few years.
Okay.
For the customers that are in the cloud, our stack is basically, we use Jenkins for deployments and Terraform, Terragrant, Helm charts for infrastructure as code. We have RDS instances, and we have some specialized XML databases running out there right now, but we are migrating those to RDS instances or potentially serverless in this next year. Our application stack tends to be Java-based applications that run inside of a Tomcat container.
Okay.
We have Solr, we have Elasticsearch. Our monitoring solutions up until this week was AppDynamics, but right now we are in process in deploying Datadog, and we're using Datadog not only for ability but also for log analysis. So we were using Graylog with AppDynamics, so we're transitioning that. I'm thinking if there's any other major pieces that I'm not thinking of.
No, sure. Yeah.
Basically applications and databases. The applications we have rolled out a few new ones that are truly act like they're cloud native. And we have a number of applications that are not. They're basically running inside of a container inside of Kubernetes. Kubernetes infrastructure for everything. There may be a couple of single EC2 instances out there, but almost everything's running in Kubernetes. Our backend data storage, we're using NetApp ONTAP FSx, and it's a large scale, highly available data storage system. We just switched to that last year because we have customers that have a large amount of data that they need, and these tend to be things like large PDF files that with multiple revisions, and so they're fairly big, they're fairly bulky, and so we have to keep track of a lot of data. So managing that and managing our the DR, and the other thing we call it data refresh, is that taking this large body of data that's in a production environment and making sure we get a copy of it into a stage environment where they can test things against the actual data. Yeah. So managing that data flow is one thing we do. The customers tend to be we have them across availability zones, of course. Our failover and disaster recovery is